If you have ever wondered why some women respond more intensely to certain touches than others, or why foreplay seems more powerful than the act itself, then listen closely. Understanding the female body is not only about intimacy, but also about respect, communication, and building deeper connections. Today, we are going to talk about three specific areas on a woman's body that, when touched the right way, can heighten her arousal and make her feel desired, safe, and fully engaged. This is not just about physical stimulation, it is about learning how to honor her needs, connect with her emotions, and unlock the natural responses her body is designed for. When we talk about intimacy and pleasure, most people tend to think about the obvious areas of the body. But here's the truth: the female body is far more complex, sensitive, and responsive than what most men assume. And the first place I want to focus on today is not hidden or mysterious at all. It's actually one of the most accessible parts of her body, her clitoris. Yes, the clitoris is often misunderstood, overlooked, or rushed through in intimacy. But if you want to understand a woman's arousal, this is the foundation you cannot afford to ignore. The clitoris contains more than 80 nerve endings concentrated in a small organ, and that number is almost twice what the penis has. To put this into perspective, all those nerve endings are there for one primary purpose: pleasure. And like many other organs that have multiple functions, the clitoris is dedicated entirely to sexual arousal and orgasm. This means that when touched, stroked, or stimulated in the right way, it has the power to create an overwhelming response in a woman's body, often leading to natural lubrication, commonly described as getting wet. But here's where most men go wrong. They treat the clitoris like a button that needs to be pressed quickly or roughly. The truth is, it's not about speed or force. It's about sensitivity and patience. The clitoris is extremely delicate. Think about it. If you have a highly sensitive part of your own body, you wouldn't want someone rushing in with intensity. Instead, you'd want them to approach slowly, carefully, and with attention to your reaction. The same principle applies here. Gentle touches, slow circles, and teasing motions are often far more effective than anything rushed. Now, let's also understand the psychology behind this. For many women, arousal is not just a physical process. It's also deeply emotional. If she feels safe, desired, and cared for, her body will naturally respond. So when a partner approaches her clitoris with care, with patience, and with the intention of giving pleasure rather than taking it, she not only feels it physically but also emotionally. This combination creates a powerful connection that makes the experience deeply satisfying. Another key point is variation. A woman's body does not always respond the same way every single time. Some days she may prefer direct stimulation. Other times she may enjoy touches around the clitoris instead of directly on it. This is why communication is crucial. Ask her what she likes. Pay attention to her body language. Does she lean in when you touch a certain way? Does she pull back? These are signals her body gives you, and learning to read them will make you a far more attentive partner. It's also important to highlight the role of foreplay in this process. The clitoris responds best when a woman is already mentally engaged and emotionally ready. Jumping straight to it without warming her up can actually make the experience uncomfortable. Think of it like building a fire. You don't just throw a big log onto a cold flame and expect it to burn. You start small, create sparks, and let the heat grow naturally. That's how you should approach her clitoris, gradually, intentionally, and with a rhythm that allows her body to catch up to her emotions. Some men also wonder, does every woman respond the same way to clitoral stimulation? The answer is no. Every woman's body is unique, and what works for one might not work for another, but the principle remains the same. Slow, patient, and attentive touch goes a long way. It's about exploring together and being willing to learn her specific rhythm. Let's not forget, too, that clitoral stimulation is not only about physical pleasure, it also plays a huge role in creating intimacy. When a man takes the time to focus on her clitoris, he's essentially saying, "Your pleasure matters. I am here to make sure you feel good." That message alone can transform how she feels in the moment. And as she begins to relax into the experience, her body will naturally respond with lubrication, signaling readiness for deeper intimacy. In the end, the clitoris is the key to unlocking much of a woman's sexual pleasure. Ignoring it is like trying to play a song while skipping the main melody. It just won't sound right. But when you learn to approach it with respect, patience, and genuine care, you'll find that it creates not only physical pleasure, but also a deeper sense of connection and trust. So remember this: the clitoris is not just a small part of her body, it is the gateway to her pleasure. Mastering how to touch, tease, and stimulate it with care will transform your intimate experiences and help her reach levels of arousal and satisfaction that make her feel truly seen, valued, and fulfilled. If the clitoris is the first and most obvious center of female pleasure, then the second place we need to explore is one that is often surrounded by curiosity, sometimes misunderstood, and yet incredibly powerful when approached with the right knowledge: the G-spot. Now, the G-spot is not some mythical button hidden deep within a woman's body. It is a real erogenous zone located about 2-3 inches inside the vagina, along the upper wall, toward the belly button. When stimulated properly, it can trigger intense pleasure, deep arousal, and in some cases, even female ejaculation. But the most important thing to remember here is that the G-spot is highly sensitive, and not every woman experiences it in the same way. Some find it instantly pleasurable, while others take time to warm up to the sensation. So let's break it down. The G-spot is essentially an extension of the clitoral network. It's not separate from it. The clitoris isn't just what you see on the outside. It has internal structures that spread around the vaginal canal, and the G-spot is one of the areas where these nerve endings converge. This is why stimulating the G-spot can produce a different type of orgasm than clitoral stimulation, often described as deeper, fuller, and more intense. But here's where many people go wrong. They either rush the process or they apply the wrong technique. Unlike the clitoris, which responds to light external touches, the G-spot often requires firm, rhythmic pressure. The common method that many sex educators recommend is the "come here" motion with the fingers, curving them upward toward the front vaginal wall in a steady, massaging rhythm. When done slowly and with patience, this can awaken the G-spot and create an entirely new level of arousal. Now let's talk about what happens when it's done right. As the G-spot is stimulated, many women describe a sense of fullness, warmth, and a deep, spreading pleasure that feels different from clitoral orgasms. For some, it leads to intense vaginal lubrication, which is the body's natural way of preparing for deeper intimacy. For others, it can trigger a release of fluid, sometimes called squirting. Both are natural, both are healthy, and both are signs that her body is responding powerfully to what you're doing. But stimulation of the G-spot is not just about technique, it's also about timing. You cannot go straight for the G-spot and expect fireworks. Most women need to be aroused first through clitoral or external stimulation before internal areas like the G-spot become responsive. If you try too soon, it might feel uncomfortable or even unpleasant for her. Think of it like preparing soil before planting seeds. You need to make sure the environment is ready so that growth can happen naturally. Another thing to remember is communication. Every woman's G-spot is unique in sensitivity, size, and responsiveness. What works for one may not work for another, so you must pay attention to her reactions, her breath, her moans, the way her body moves. If she tenses up or pulls away, you may need to ease off or change the rhythm. If she leans into it, moans louder, or grips tighter, then you're doing something right. These are natural cues, and learning to read them is just as important as the physical technique itself. It's also essential to approach the G-spot with respect and without pressure. Many men make the mistake of trying to prove that they can make a woman squirt or reach some dramatic orgasm, turning it into a performance goal, but intimacy is not about performance, it's about connection. If she feels pressured, her body will tense and the experience will not flow naturally. Instead, focus on exploration. Treat the G-spot as a place of curiosity and discovery, where both of you can learn what feels good without expectation. Let's also talk about the emotional layer. For many women, G-spot stimulation can bring up very powerful emotions. Because it's tied into deep nerve pathways and pelvic structures, it's not just physical. It can release tension, stress, and even past emotional energy. Some women may cry or laugh during intense G-spot orgasms, and that is completely normal. As a partner, your role is to support her, hold her, and make her feel safe in whatever emotions arise. That safety allows her body to fully let go and surrender to pleasure. The truth is, when a woman's G-spot is stimulated properly, it doesn't just make her body respond. It deepens intimacy between both partners. It tells her that you're willing to learn her body, that you care enough to explore beyond the surface, and that her pleasure is just as important as your own. And when she feels that kind of attentiveness, she opens up, not just physically but emotionally, creating an intimacy that goes far beyond the bedroom. So here's the big takeaway. The G-spot is not about magic tricks or quick results. It's about patience, communication, and respect. With the right approach, you can unlock a side of her pleasure that is deeper, richer, and more satisfying than she may have ever experienced before. And once she feels that, once she experiences what it's like to have that part of her awakened, she will never forget the connection you built with her. When we think about a woman's pleasure, most people immediately focus on the obvious areas, the clitoris or the G-spot. But there is another place, often underestimated yet incredibly powerful, that can heighten arousal and create an unforgettable experience. This third place is not hidden deep inside the body, but right at the surface, her nipples and breasts. Now, why are the nipples so significant when it comes to sexual arousal? The answer lies in biology. Nipples contain thousands of nerve endings, which send powerful signals to the brain when stimulated. In fact, scientific studies using brain scans have shown that nipple stimulation activates the very same areas of the brain as genital stimulation. This means that the pleasure a woman feels in her breasts is neurologically connected to the pleasure she feels in her clitoris or G-spot. In other words, her breasts are not just for visual attraction. They are active participants in her sexual arousal. When touched, kissed, or gently caressed, the nipples can cause a rush of pleasure that spreads throughout the body. This is why many women report that breast play alone can sometimes bring them to orgasm. But beyond orgasm, nipple stimulation also triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This chemical doesn't just increase physical arousal. It deepens emotional intimacy, making her feel more connected, cared for, and safe with her partner. But as with the clitoris and G-spot, the way you approach the nipples is everything. They are extremely sensitive, and not all women like the same kind of touch. Some prefer gentle strokes or soft kisses, while others enjoy firmer pressure, suction, or playful biting. The key is to pay attention to her reactions. If she arches her back, moans, or pulls you closer, that's her body telling you she enjoys it. If she flinches or pulls away, slow down or change your approach. Her responses are your roadmap. It's also important to understand timing. Jumping straight to the breasts without warming her up elsewhere may not give the desired response. Nipple stimulation often works best when combined with other forms of touch, soft kisses on the neck, gentle caresses along her waist, or even clitoral teasing. The nipples can act like amplifiers. Once the rest of her body is already engaged, focusing on the breasts can intensify everything she feels, pushing her arousal to even higher levels. Let's talk about variety. The breasts are not just about the nipples. Different parts of the breast respond to different kinds of touch. Running your fingers around the curves, kissing the underside, or gently massaging them in circular motions can all build arousal. But when you focus on the nipples, try alternating techniques, light flicks of the tongue, gentle suction, or warm breaths after a kiss. Changing sensations keeps the experience exciting and prevents overstimulation. Now, what happens when you get it right? For many women, nipple stimulation not only enhances physical pleasure, but also increases natural lubrication. The brain responds to the signals from the breasts by sending more blood flow to the genitals, making her wetter and more prepared for intimacy. This is why focusing on the breasts during foreplay is not just about variety. It's about preparing her body for a deeper and more satisfying sexual experience. There is also an emotional layer to this. Breasts are often tied to feelings of femininity, confidence, and vulnerability. When you approach them with care, admiration, and respect, she feels valued and beautiful. This psychological boost magnifies the physical pleasure because arousal is never just about the body, it's about the mind. A woman who feels desired and appreciated in her breasts will respond much more openly in every part of intimacy. But let's also acknowledge differences. Not every woman has the same relationship with her breasts. Some may be highly responsive, while others may feel little to no arousal from nipple stimulation, and that's perfectly normal. The point is not to assume that one technique works for all, but to explore together and discover what specifically works for her. That exploration itself is part of the pleasure. It's a journey of connection, curiosity, and learning. Another key aspect is rhythm. Nipples, much like the clitoris, can become overstimulated if touched too intensely for too long. Alternating between focus on the breasts and shifting attention to other erogenous zones creates a rhythm that keeps her body craving more. It's like building waves of pleasure instead of one continuous line. It rises, falls, and rises again, creating an experience that feels natural and exciting. In the bigger picture, nipple stimulation is not just about technique or physical arousal. It's about creating a full body experience. When you incorporate her breasts into intimacy, you are engaging more of her senses, making her body feel alive in multiple places at once. And when that happens, her arousal grows exponentially, leading her to get wetter, more responsive, and more open to deeper intimacy. So here's the bottom line. Her breasts are not just for show. They are a powerful source of pleasure, intimacy, and connection. When you learn to stimulate them with care, variety, and respect, you're not only awakening another dimension of her arousal, but also deepening her trust and emotional bond with you. And when her nipples are touched in the way she likes, her whole body responds. Her heart races, her mind softens, and her body naturally prepares for the most intimate moments you share.